Hi everyone, Sandman here. This video is brought to you by a donation from William. He didn't give me a specific topic, so I thought I'd cover a post by someone named Uberman left on Reddit called An Interesting Reality in the Worsening Situation in Japan. I put it in the description. As many of you know, I've said before that the future of feminism can be seen in Swedenstan, but the future of MGTOW can be seen in Japan. I want to read what Uberman has to say in full because I know that many of you don't really have the patience to read it yourselves, but I think this is something you should hear. But before I read it to you, let me first tell you about today's sponsor, the Snoop Detector. This Android app notifies you if someone tries accessing your phone or device. It will take a picture of your girlfriend or even your boss when they try to use your phone without permission. Who knows, you might even get a dirty picture of the two of them doing the Humpty Dance. The app also logs the time they tried accessing your phone. Lou, the developer, is also a fellow MGTOW and his software is free to download, so click on either of the sponsor links down below. Anyways, so Uberman's post is a response to an article from The Atlantic called Japan Mystery Birth Rate. Here's what Uberman has to say, and I quote, "I live in Japan. In order to understand why people aren't having babies, let's first discuss a few important points about Japan. Number one, the country is incredibly gynocentric as a society that puts women on a pedestal in almost every aspect of life. Free entry to clubs while chumps pay $40. Various discounts everywhere from movie theaters to bars, ladies' nights multiple times a week, etc. Women here are literally never expected to pay for anything, even if they have a good job and make a lot of money. I've been on dates with women who had decent careers and still expected me to foot the bill. Please note that some pay for themselves, but it's rather rare. It's usually inversely correlated to their looks. Number two, sex happens almost out in the open, and there's no societal shaming of any kind going on. They even have special hotels called love hotels that couples rent out for a few hours at a time, solely to bang each other. This freedom causes women to ignore the bottom 90% of guys and rotate the top 10% among themselves. Japanese chads are getting more gash than ever, while Beta Taro is relegated to the adult section of his local DVD store. Japanese women ride the carousel far more than Western women, and it's not uncommon for Tokyo girls in their 20s to have lay counts in the three figures. Number three, Japanese women are extremely cold-hearted and calculating, and I dare say a lot more logical than Western women. That causes them to see every person and interaction in their life through the lens of, how does this benefit me, and what am I getting out of it? They're notorious for collecting armies of orbiters that they never sleep with, and who they only use for favors and services. It's so ubiquitous that there's even an article where Japanese women bragged about it and talked about the nicknames they have for such guys. Number four, Japanese women feel entitled to a guy's money once they start dating him, whereas Western couples tend to pool their salaries together and split expenses more or less evenly. Japanese women will confiscate their husband's salary in its entirety and hand him approximately 10 to 15 US dollars on a daily basis. All the while, they stay at home watching Korean dramas and yak with their friends in expensive cafes. Japanese men often joke that they have two employers, their boss and their wife. Number five, to put it simply, many are unpleasant and rude to be with, and have a perennial bitch face and no ability to be nice to people. When they're nice, it's simply because there's some form of value flowing their way. They tend to be miserable most of the time, and one misstep with them leads them to ghost you in a most brutal manner. Japanese women are notorious for ghosting even their own husbands. Japanese men can also be serious workhorses, but they aren't dumb. They've seen their fathers slave away and burn out, many being driven to suicide, and they put 2 plus 2 together. The end result is the realization that the juice is no longer worth the squeeze anymore, and that it's far easier to stay single and enjoy their money and hobbies as bachelors, as opposed to selling themselves into a life of thankless servitude for a bit of ass that the woman will withdraw after she gives birth. They're notorious for this. But for those of you men that think opting out will change the way that women act, the answer is it won't, at least not in the short term. In Japan, most men have started to opt out, and yet women aren't noticing at all. Why is that? It's because these men are invisible to women in the first place. Women are only getting together with the top tier and don't even notice the bottom 90%. They're having a better time than ever. The only party that's being hit by it is the government. It translates to less tax revenue and less future tax slaves for them. Some of these women eventually manage to jump off the carousel and snag an obedient beta before they hit 30, whom they'll keep as a personal slave for the rest of his natural life. But I've been noticing an increasing number of women who don't actually leave the carousel on time. They become unable to pair bond and otherwise develop mental issues. Then they redirect their motherly instinct into pushing baby strollers full of dogs every day. The dog epidemic here is absolutely insane. Even 6 to 7 years ago, few Tokyites had dogs, but now the city is full of washed up kooks pushing dogs around all day. The streets of most residential neighborhoods are littered with dog shit, and it's mostly post-wall women who own them. That's Japan for you. It's not some sort of technological utopia like the Western media likes to portray it. It's a society in terminal stages of collapse. Robots won't help it. AI won't help it. Racial homogeneity won't actually help it either. They simply lost the ability to relate to other people and to be humane to each other. Unquote. So that's what Uberman has to say. The YouTuber known as Black Pigeon Speaks is also in Japan, and he once said in a video that when women's sexual desires are left unchecked, harems form. That certainly seems to be the case in a way because, as Uberman says, Japanese women don't notice the bottom 80% of men out there. If women don't have to pay for anything, that's traditionalism. But what many people don't realize is that gynocentrism can also be traditional, not just feminism. Sounds to me like Japan is a traditional society where the women cherry-pick the good parts of traditionalism and where the man is expected to pay and they can pretty much get any resource they want. But they also get the good parts of female empowerment, where they can have sex without shame. No wonder they don't need slut walks in Japan, because being slut seems to be socially acceptable already if women there can have 100 plus partners. Japanese average IQs are some of the highest in the world as well. So it's no surprise that they're looking out for their own best interests and calculating everything around them to take as much as they can from Japanese men. It sounds to me like Japanese women are like predators and opportunists. Here in North America, women are not nearly as smart. I've run into some really dumb ones, but with those, the sex is the best when they're mildly retarded. Uberman also mentions Japanese women with bitch face that are unable to be nice unless they're getting something in return. I've noticed the same thing in the last 5 to 10 years with regards to Filipinas here in Canada too. They used to be the last refuge of incels in Canada, and even that window is now closing. What I find shocking about this account about Japan is even with all the herbivore men out there that avoid relationships and sex, there's still ample numbers of beta male orbiters to give women attention. Does that mean that some of the herbivore man shaming language is working, or does that mean that the thirst is very real? If, as Uberman says, there's a never-ending stream of simping beta male orbiters, then it means that there are tons of Japanese incels out there. I guess they're hoping to get a smile and sexy time from a bitch face, and they hang around waiting patiently as more of those women become mental patients. What could be more crazy than women treating dogs like human babies? Unfortunately, the dog trend has come to Canada as well. I see them out in a boot in their fully enclosed strollers with dogs in them. One 40-year-old woman that stayed single and friend-zoned me a number of years ago tried reconnecting with me, and she has an Instagram page for her dog Fido. But now she started to age, my guess is that it was a way to keep a steady stream of attention flowing her way, because she can live vicariously through the dog and all the attention it brings. There was also a woman named Sailor Spoon that I briefly dated about 5 years ago, and she had mental issues, and she's also seen pushing a dog stroller around these days as well. Uberman, you also need to keep it in mind if you ever hear this video that MGTOW is not a way to punish women in the West for their bad behavior, but many guys think that it is for some reason. I've said it before that it'll just make women even more disgruntled, but they are finding ways to adapt to a world where less and less men give them attention. The baby carriage is full of dogs, and their social media pages are ways for other women to give them that attention and validation they crave. Men, on the other hand, seek out female validation but not male validation, unless of course the guy is packing some fudge. But for women, I think that attention and validation coming from other women can be just as fulfilling. What other reason can there be for what amounts to social media circle jerks for women when those women post a picture or event and then there are dozens of mostly female friends giving her likes, and if she's a middle-aged woman, it's all other women. The likes end up becoming reciprocal, and that's that. It's like they're just passing around a dopamine rush to each other like a joint at a party. So it seems that women in Japan adapted by choosing not to marry what they consider average or below average men. They have their dogs and they go to host bars after men become herbivores in Japan, it seems. Women in the West are adapting too, using dogs and social media. As the number of so-called decent marriage material men disappear from our society, I'm predicting that we're going to see even more formal sharing of men at the top of the sexual marketplace hierarchy. Couples will be a thing in the past, and maybe 3 or 4 or more women will cling to one high-quality man. It'll be like Utah all over the place, and those men will have tons and tons of kids, and once their sons are 17 or 18, they'll have to leave the family. It looks like in many ways nature has made it so that women prefer to share the best man with their sister wives, so they have the best looking children. It is what it is, and we should just accept it. But to prevent the complete collapse in birth rates, we need to allow polygamy in our society at some point. If we were to make it legal, I think women would do it more and more. After all, in the last 5 years, we've seen the popularity of polyamorous relationships grow and grow. It's a natural de-evolution for our society. I think if that were to happen, many MGTOW monks would rejoice because the shaming language would finally cease because women would be too busy getting busy with the same man. But as the Japanese example proves, there are a ton of thirsty men out there, and many Japanese women probably have dozens of orbiters. I can't really comment too much on Japanese women because I've never dated any of them before. But I always got the impression that in that culture, even though I don't understand the language, the girls quite often come across as behaving in a fake way. Like when you work in an office and people give you fake smiles and laughs. I couldn't shake that feeling that Japanese women were always pretending to be polite and nice while I was still in high school. I didn't notice the same behavior from the Korean women and the ones in China. Call me crazy, but that's just what I saw. Anyways, that's it for today. Thanks again, William, for the donation, and Uberman for the topic. Don't forget to smash the like button the way that Japanese women don't want to get smashed by Taro, the Japanese version of an incel. Bang the bell and check out the MGTOW mystery link. Follow me on BitChute, Twitter, and Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Subscribe to me on Minds and Gap to get the video for the day after tomorrow. This channel's been demonetized, so if you want to get back at corporate censors, demonetize them by taking away their ad dollars by installing the Brave browser. Link is down below. It also helps me out and you get cryptocurrency for viewing ads as well. You can also help me out through Subscribestar. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills, and remember, a red pill a day keeps the Tokyo bitch face and ghetto pussy away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.